Welcome to the Notorious Scoundrels, a Star Wars Legion podcast bringing you the latest news, general perspective, and competitive discussion.
3, you're gonna do great, Kyle. I really believe in you. 2,
I've done this before, Jay.
1.
Hello and welcome back to the Notorious Scoundrels podcast. I'm Kyle. I'm here with Jay and Tim. What's up, gentlemen?
Hello.
How are you
Hello.
guys? Can you go outside up there now? Is that
Yeah, it's just raining.
I was just saying, except for the rain. Yeah.
well,
So like
yeah.
a torrential downpour today, but at
It
least we
is-
can breathe.
Yeah,
it is raining here too.
but to be fair, it hasn't rained in like 4 weeks, so
Oh, it was needed.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
needed.
Very much. Yeah.
I thought the fires were just gonna travel right down the coast based on how dry it was here. So it was wild. Yeah, no, things are good. Good to see you, Kyle. Good to see you, Tim.
I'm excited about today. We are going to do our first, what is this, season 3?
Yep.
3. We're going to do our first season 3 episode. This will be a 101 episode as our main topic.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about some 101 topics that were actually suggestions from our Patreon Discord. So,
Yes.
and then we're also we got hit with some more Ewok rules, log array, and the actual rules for the Battle Force. So we are going to briefly discuss those. We'll do some more in-depth stuff in a future episode that's not a 101 episode.
Mhm.
So
You don't want me deep diving on that. I'm not a Rebel player at all, so I just try and kill them. That's it.
all right.
So-
I have many thoughts, but I will try and
Yeah.
reserve most of them for next week or the week after that. But first, housekeeping.
Housekeeping.
Okay, yeah. So let's see. What do we got for housekeeping? You know what? I would really like all of you guys to do is to get on your mobile phone or your computer, and I'd like you to go to patreon.com/thefifthtrooper. And I'd like you to go ahead and at a minimum give us $1 every month. That's what I'd like from you right now. I'm gonna go ahead and pause while you do it.
And you'll get access to the Discord chat, right?
Don't
Or you can
distract
make
him. Let him.
Suggestions.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Maybe-
Yeah.
Maybe get me a new mic because my kids destroyed my other one.
Yep.
It was like 4 years old anyway, but
Yeah. It
Yeah,
was one. It was like the first one I bought you, right? When we
Yep.
started. Yeah.
mhm.
But no, you get access to the Discord. So one of the cool things is today's 101 section is actually brought to you by the Patreon. These were questions that we prompted for in we have a podcast topics section on the Discord, and Kyle asked them for some 101 topics, and they gave us the ones we're going to talk about today. So you can be part of that cool conversation for just $1 a day. You can give us all your money if you want. That would be nice. And then because we like to support our staff. We have a number of writers and podcasters, and we pay them every month. And, I know they like the money. And if you like reading the articles or listening to any of our podcasts, please support us. We've got a new thing that we're starting that actually Tim is part of on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We were doing the Fifth Tile, which was kind of like a podcast about gaming, but we found this game called Broken Compass. It's like a RPG, like in the style of Indiana Jones. And so we're going to run a little campaign during the Fifth Tile live on all Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday nights. You'll have the whole Fifth Trooper group. So Evan, Austin, and Grammar Police are all there, and then me and Tim. Evan's our fortune master, as they call it, in that. And it was the first one was a ton of fun, and I think it's only going to get better. And just a little preview. Tim had his character 100% randomly made.
Oh, it's the best. It is the best way to do an RPG
Yeah, it was the
character.
most
It's the best.
insane character.
Don't
Yeah.
ask me how I'm a Japanese Italian private eye or something like that. But
detective.
what I
Like I
am,
think it actually ended
detective.
up coming up like you were Batman, like the
Yeah.
Japanese Italian Batman or something
Japanese
like that.
Italian daredevil detective. So yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
That's it. So
Perfect.
And then my character is basically Rachel and I have been really big into the show Peaky Blinders, and so like I'm basically a Peaky Blinder. That's not I won't use that name, but like that's basically what I am. I'm like this Birmingham smuggler type called Mr. Silk. So I'm very excited about that. I actually an artist friend of mine he's starting a Patreon and stuff, and so he did a little portrait of my character for me as one of his examples for his Patreon. So I have a professional sketch of my character, which is super cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's housekeeping. Patreon, support, listen to our podcast. Come join us Wednesday nights, live 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yeah, I think that's good for housekeeping.
Awesome. All right. Well, how about we open with the news?
Welcome to In the News.
Well, we finally got some information on Logray and Bright Tree Village, the actual battle force. We now know how to field Ewoks in an almost entirely Ewok army. It is actually not legal to field entirely Ewok army, which we'll get to. Yeah. So like I said in the open, we're gonna kind of hot take this briefly today. If you want deep dives on list ideas, what we think of this stuff from a competitive perspective, tune into a future episode.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So the new stuff we actually got in this is Logray's unit card, his 3 unique upgrades, and then the actual battle force. So why don't we start with Logray?
Sure. All right. So Logray's a commander for 45 points. He's got a command slot, 3 training slots. He has aid teardrop trooper. He has independent aim or dodge 1. He has inspired 2, low profile and nimble. He's got his staff, which is 2 black and suppressive, 4 health, 3 courage, white defensive die, and he surges on defense. Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, why don't we go right into his upgrade cards, because these, particularly the first one, but in general, these kind of dictate how he functions. So
Yeah,
let's do that, and then we
sure.
can talk about the whole package.
All right, I'll keep going.
Yep.
So the first one, these are all unique. So you can have one of them. We've got secret ingredients. At the start of each round, put 1 aim or dodge token on this card. At the start of this unit's activation, it may remove any number of tokens from this card to gain the matching tokens. After this unit uses aid, it may remove a suppression token.
Humans, the secret ingredient is humans.
Yeah, the secret ingredient is stormtroopers.
Yeah, in case
Like,
you haven't seen.
I'm really surprised that
the
the
Jedi.
artwork didn't have like him like stirring it inside a stormtrooper helmet,
Yeah.
because that would have been canon.
Or they could have just had like somebody on the spit roast, like Han or somebody. That would have been.
I think that would have been a little bit too graphic, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just figured a helmet would be nearby. Or
Actually,
something.
who's in there is the lady whose dress that was that they gave to Leia, because
we never talk about it.
Yeah, where did it come from?
He definitely didn't heal him with his herbal medicine.
Maybe she died of natural causes.
I mean,
And
if
then
a
was
spear is
buried.
made out of stone, is that
Yeah.
a natural cause?
Sure, Kyle. Whatever, you live in your little fantasy world. Natural.
It's-
I mean, the
organic.
they're natural. Yeah, sure. The Ewoks
Yeah.
naturally live there.
Yep.
Look how he's got an evil face on for that card too. It's terrifying. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's a Halloween card right there.
I have to say real quick, I love all the artwork on all these cards.
Yeah,
I've been
that's
so
true.
impressed
Yeah.
with
That's true.
You can tell that they love this as much as we're going to, like, they wanted to do this as much as we wanted them to do this. So it's been very exciting. Herbal medicine is the next one.
Yep.
This is for free action, choose a teardrop trooper unit at range 1, remove 1 wound from the unit, or restore 1 defeated miniature to the unit, and you tap that. So that's 10 points. Secret Ingredients was 5 points. Then the next one is Onward to Victory. This card may only be exhausted at the start of the activation phase. If you do, discard it at the start of the end phase. God, there's so many. Okay. While this card is exhausted, when an enemy unit is defeated, one friendly Teardrop Trooper unit may perform a speed 1 move, and this is a tap as well, and it's 10 points.
Yeah, so the short version of that card is basically you decide to use it for a turn, and then after that turn it's gone. But it's active for the entire turn. So at the beginning of a turn, you're like, I think I'm going to eliminate some activations this turn. I'm going to tap this card. Whenever that happens, I'm going to get a free move, and the card's gone at the end of the turn.
It reminds me of that thing that, you know, Grievous has to spend a whole command card to do for Crush Them, where it's like for every defeated unit, get a Surge token or something like that. It's just.
All right. So I think the card that really defines how he works is Secret Ingredients.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so he has aid. He has independent. So he's essentially a Pike capo. Except he also has Inspire 2. And then he has this ability, Secret Ingredients, which is like 6 more tokens. And also he doesn't take suppression when he uses aid, basically. The wording on this is a little bit awkward. It's unclear if because it seems like you just accumulate tokens on this card, and it's not like you have to use them every turn. If you want, you can wait until turn 6 and then just dump 6 tokens onto him, and then therefore onto Ewok units near him. It's not super clear exactly, like, you know, if you dump 6 tokens at once, does he gain 6 suppression and then remove 6 suppression? Does he remove 1 suppression and end up with 5? You know, I don't know. It's a little awkward. But the long and short of it is he gives out a lot of free tokens for a commander that costs 45 points. He also has Courage 3. He's a Courage 3 commander for 45 points.
With low profile too. That, like, just throw that in there as well, with nimble and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And also he, for 10 points, can be a medic that refreshes. I mean, you got to take a refresh action, but it's a free action. So to heal.
Yeah.
So you just get free heals, or not free heals, but 10 points for every turn. You could be potentially bringing someone back or healing a wound, which is huge.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. One thing about the herbal medicine that is, I think, worthwhile to note is that it is an exhaust card. So even though it's a free action, you have to spend an action recovering every turn.
Right. That's what I was saying. Yeah. But if he's hanging out in the back, you know, it's only 1 action refresh.
It is, but since he has aid, you're giving up an aim or a dodge.
Aid. Yeah, that's true. Very true.
But I think it's interesting. There's a nice little cost offset there, because you have to give up that free token essentially to use herbal medicine. But he's basically, I think of him like a super Pike capo. He has independent, both aim and dodge. He's got the Secret Ingredients that gives him an extra token of either aim or dodge. And then since he removes suppression whenever he uses aid, you don't have to recover like you would with a capo or a the Black Sun guy.
Yeah.
So it's essentially like a guaranteed 3 free tokens a turn if he doesn't have to move.
Yeah, you thought dodge spam was bad with Pikes.
Yeah, it's actually, I'm sorry, it's 4, because it's the one from Secret Ingredients, it's the one from Independent, and then it's 1 from each action he can take. So it's 4 free tokens a turn.
Oof.
Now Ewoks themselves don't have Independent, at least. Well, I take that back. The Slingers have the Surge, but like the normal Ewok core units don't have Independent. So that evens this out a little bit, but they do have low profile.
Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they do.
Right. So effectively under heavy cover, you got 4 before you even get.
You're stripping 4. Yeah.
Yeah. And not only that, I mean, you have. I really do like. I mean, even though I don't play them, and I'm not about to turn and buy a Rebel Army. I do appreciate the synergy between Wicket and Logray, because you really have, like, Wicket is very much leading from the front, and Logray's just in the back. Be like, yeah, you got this. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
They're scary. They're very scary.
They are. He definitely feels like there's two things that occur to me about this card. I think he's essentially auto-include for an Ewok Battle Force. And you can, by the way, you can only take him in the Ewok Battle Force. He does not have a Rebel symbol on his card. The second thing is, like, if I'm facing an Ewok Battle Force, which includes Logray, he's got to be like a priority target. Like if you have an opportunity to take him out, you take him out.
Yeah, but I don't even think it's going to be that easy.
Oh, it
No.
won't be, because he can just hang near the back.
Yeah.
You can hide him behind a line of sight blocker, like say,
with low profile and nimble.
Incognito ATST, perhaps.
You know what I argue? Here's what you do. You actually put a steam leader on him, and you just start throwing Ewoks in front of him and then healing him.
I hate that. I hate that so much.
Yeah,
it's such a good idea, but I hate you.
Toss a steam leader on him and just heal up the little Ewoks that jumped in front of it. No problemo.
You definitely, yeah, that's a great command upgrade idea for him, because he is absolutely, like, he only has 4 health. I get that he has low profile, nimble, and a free
Could you
dodge,
guys imagine it was Ewoks that made me like become great at this game? Like, can you like I just start stomping house with Ewoks? Like, where did that come from? Like, I was just like, oh yeah, steam
I could see
leader.
it.
Let's go. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see it.
Yeah.
And between him and 3PO, that's a lot of spreading damage around. Because 3PO also has a Guardian ability. Hopefully they fix the wording on that. We already talked about 3PO, but
I'm just gonna bring Blizzard Force with all flamethrower snows now. That's it.
there
It
you
won't be enough.
That's it. You're probably right.
go. Well, another avenue perhaps would be to take a lot of suppressive weapons.
Yes.
Should we talk
It's
about the
very
Battle
true.
Force real quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yes, please.
All right. So real quick, the Force Org, there's nothing really special. Well, there is. Okay. So the Force Org, it has a shared commander operative slot like Shadow Collective, but you can take 5. Which kind of makes sense when you think about the fact that their unit roster is pretty limited, and a lot of the units they have access to are characters.
Yep.
And particularly like not expensive characters. So they cannot take Jedi Luke. There was a big question about that. Would they be able to take Jedi Luke? He was on Endor. He did fight on Endor.
He was busy. He was busy, man.
Yeah, I guess.
He's busy dealing with his dad.
If you're like narrowly looking at this as like the battle for the bunker specifically, then yes, Luke was busy. But Luke did fight on Endor. He did hang out with Ewoks. Anyway, yeah, debatable. It's probably a good choice. I feel like if you could take Luke in a battle force with this many good cheap units, that could be a problem. So, you can debate the theme, but it's probably a good balance choice. The other thing that
I agree.
like a balance choice is there's no R2 in this battle force.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot less thematic sense, because he was clearly in that battle.
Yeah.
Very much so. And was pivotal in that battle too,
Indeed.
no less.
Yeah. So that has to be a balance choice.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You just never shoot anybody in the army until they're right on top of you. Ugh.
Yeah. It makes sense.
It does. Yeah. Secret
It
mission
does.
with like
It
a
does.
14 activation list sounds horrible. So if that's a balance choice, props to AMG for that. But yeah, no R2, no Jedi Luke. They can take 3PO, Han, Leia, Logray, Wicket, and Chewie as their characters. And then the other Rebel units they can take are Commandos, 0 to 2 as a special force, and then Rebel Troopers, again, 0 to 2. So they're also required to take at least 2 non-Ewok Rebel units. Which I guess kind of makes sense if you're thinking of how that battle played out.
Yeah.
One of those is probably going to be Leia, because Leia seems great in this battle force, and she also got a cost reduction. The other one is, it's going to be Chewie or a Commando or a Rebel Trooper. But
maybe. I think if you're taking Chewie, if you're taking Leia and Chewie, you're taking the ATST one, I think. And
probably, yes, because it seems like
you can use the cards.
Ransom Braun works on the ATST.
Yeah. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Don't forget that
you
is not
perverted
a
my ATST, my
fire
baby.
support. You do not have to flip its token. It's basically a free attack.
Yeah.
With
baby.
an ATST. On top of a pool with sharpshooter too. and Search Grid and Pierce.
Forums, I call to you, please help us. The Empire is so weak.
There's a couple funny implications of that too. You know what? We can save this for the
Okay, yeah.
competitive. Yeah, because there
Fair
are
enough.
weird
Yeah.
interactions with that are strange.
I believe it. Yeah.
Um,
They're worth a deep dive, to be fair.
They are
Like, they're
100%
separate.
worth a deep dive because they really don't make sense, and they also
Sure.
drastically change how the ability works. But
Yeah. And you want to know what's going to happen if you're facing it. You want to know
yes,
that it's a potential.
yep. But we'll get into that when we do the competitive deep dive on this. The big thing for this that I think is relevant is the special rule for Bright Tree Battle Force, which is basically that they don't remove suppression during the end phase. The rule technically is they remove one fewer suppression, but given that the standard rule is you remove one suppression, that means they remove 0 generally, unless you give them like endurance for some reason, which I guess you could do.
I mean, yeah,
But
they got the training slots technically, but yeah.
they do. I think you probably just stack Inspire in the rest of your list.
Yeah.
Logray has Inspire 2, Leia has Inspire 2, Chewie the ATST has Inspire 3.
Yeah.
So that's like 7 right there, and then you could
I
take,
hate this. There's nothing I can do.
and then you could take lead by example on Leia and Logray for each of them to have Inspire 4, and then that's probably got you covered. And 3PO has Compel, so you can probably make it like sort of timing neutral on the Inspire. If you need to do something with an Ewok and they have suppression on them, you compel them, and then you go with Leia with her Inspire 4 and you strip it off. So
good.
It seems pretty good. The drawback definitely is, that's a real drawback, but they have a lot of tools to deal with it, especially when you consider that Logray is Courage 3 and 3PO has Compel. You've got a lot of wiggle room where they're going to be kind of like droids, where somewhere between like 0 and 5 suppression on them just kind of doesn't matter. It's like bookkeeping, and then once you get to 6, you're going to have problems, but if you can keep them below 6 suppression, then you're going to be fine. So. All right. You guys got any further thoughts on this one?
I was just going to say, I'm looking forward to seeing them because they do look fun, but I'm not looking forward to playing against them. I'm looking forward to seeing other people play on a table versus each other with those units. I just don't want to deal with it.
I'm obviously I've been really excited about Ewoks, and so for me, as much as we talk and pontificate about things on here, it's always about getting it on the table for me. That's when it really starts to when I start clicking, because I'm looking at things like having my skirmishers right now, like having my skirmishers with an axe, a trapper, tenacity, and endurance. And just I don't know, that seems crazy and kind of good. So, I don't know, that may be what I do. So, but until you play a couple rounds and you start tinkering with stuff, and then, in a couple weeks, we'll talk about this on our advanced tactics stuff. But yeah, super interesting.
I was going to say, for the advanced tactics side too, when you diving into it, it's also going to be worth a look at where do Ewoks, now that you have the whole picture, where do Ewoks fit into a regular rebel force compared to not just a battle force? Because I do think they could be really good in a regular rebel army as well. Not for nothing.
I agree.
So there's a whole nother side of that.
Yeah, I guess for me, I'm Ewoks battle force or nothing. Just because this is what I've been waiting for, and I want the ATST and Rebels. It's my favorite unit, so I might as well go for it now with command cards.
I only own one ATST, and that second one is really pretty, and it's like that nice new stuff. And it would be different than the first one, so I might pick that up and have it step on Chewie or something like that. I don't know.
For sure own more than one.
Well, yeah, but that's because you play double heavies all the time.
Yeah, but do I need 6?
Well, how do you have 6 ATSTs?
Just because I've talked
an
about
intervention.
This. Yeah, you may need to come over and do an intervention. Yeah, because there's more coming with the Ewoks. It's so bad.
Oh, and you got to buy it. a lot of Ewok boxes if you want to build the Battle Force, because there is no like Battle Force box or
Yeah.
core set that you can
Yeah.
get them in.
9. I'll be getting 9
You gotta,
boxes.
yeah, basically you got to get 9 Ewok boxes.
I am surprised they didn't do a box of some sort, because you figure they would with all the new
It
stuff. But
seems, yeah, like like a Shadow Collective style,
Yeah.
a box
Yeah.
with like Wicket and 2 Ewok.
Yeah, if I was them,
right.
if I was them, so really quick, this is just but they have left supports open and saying that you can have supports even though there aren't any yet, right?
Sure.
But
sure.
if I was them, whatever the supports and the because it says you could take 2 heavies as well, but you can only have
Yep.
1 right now. So whatever
Right.
those 2 supports and those other heavies are, I would release those and everything else as 1 box.
As a
And then
box.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then you
Yeah.
could get like the ATST if they're gonna put out the gliders, you have the gliders.
It's
And
got to be
then
the gliders for the supports. Like,
oh yeah, and then you
it's
get
gotta be. It's
right, and
Catapults
then
maybe for the heavies.
yeah, and then I think
Yeah.
you
That'd
could
be
put
pretty
a new
cool.
Han, like
Yeah.
putting in a new Han model would be cool, a new Leia model, like that
Yeah,
would be
I would love
neat,
to
you
see
know,
like hard plastic Leia and Han
Yeah.
because
That's fair.
don't
change
get me
the
wrong,
design.
they're fine, but
Yeah.
some of the OG models are definitely showing their age a little bit.
The OG models, especially you notice it more with Rebel models because their faces are showing.
Yeah,
Like most of the Empire ones, you have helmet options, so you can just cover their faces. But you look at some of the older ones, you're like, oh, that's rough.
Yeah, it's not great.
That's rough.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
think next week we're doing hobby, and we can talk about this more next week's episode. But one of the things I would really like to see, and I think they're getting there, but like I'm looking at these Shatterpoint models, like I put all the Shatterpoint stuff together, and like instead of flight stands, like all the Mandalorians are like on smoke. Like it's just like, yeah, we need this in Legion. Like I don't know why we're
That
not.
would be great.
I
I
don't
would
know
love
why.
that.
those Shatterpoint menus are great.
Yeah, like we don't need
I
flight
hate flight
stands anymore
stands.
now that we have silhouettes. Like it just doesn't,
No,
they don't
no.
matter. Like model them. Let's go, you know?
Yeah.
And I think AMG is the perfect company to do that. They've been doing they're the MCP and the Shatterpoint models are all beautiful.
They're
Beautiful,
gorgeous.
beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so
Oh yeah.
All right, shall we move on to Legion 101?
It's time for Legion 101. Class is in session.
All right. Well, today we're going to talk about target priority and when to take standbys and how to use them. So, why don't we hit? And these are 2 slightly related topics, but
I was
when
gonna
we hit
say
target,
they kind of feed into each other. Yeah.
they do. We can discuss them both at once, but let's kind of start with target priority and then we can lead into standbys a little bit. So how do you guys decide what to attack and when? I think that's the core of the question, basically.
yeah, I mean I
know
think
it's super broad, but
it is.
No,
And
it's a good question,
it
though.
comes in
Yeah.
phases, right? So I think at the but it's a hard question because like my first answer is okay, like at the beginning of the game it's whoever I can shoot generally, right? Unless there's something specific that tells me not to, like if I know you're coming up with somebody or if I think you're going to move up with another unit that's a higher priority for me, then I wait. But like if I can get a shot, I'm taking it early game. That's key.
Yeah, there's kind of that like first turn or two where you're sort of feeling each other out a little bit. And if your opponent is, like reasonably competent, they're not going to give you a lot of free shots on stuff. So at least for that phase, I like to call it the poking or probing phase of the game. You take the shots that you're given, basically.
Yeah.
Because if you are able to target more than 1 or 2 units on a given turn with more than 1 or 2 units of your own, somebody's messed up.
True. True.
So yeah, you take the shots that you can take. Obviously, if you have like a lot of long range weapons, this changes the equation a little bit because you're probably going to be able to take slightly more shots. But yeah, initially during that like poking phase, probing phase, you kind of just take what you're given because at the end of the day, like, this game is about eliminating activations. Activations are scoring units. Activations are obviously something that allow you to progress through the turn. So like eliminating any activation is important and relevant.
Yeah, and I think it's also where you have the cards like air support, your barrage cards, let's just call them, where you have your different air support, maximum firepower, yada yada, whatever you want to call it. Everyone's got one, but it's where they come into play. And I think for me, I think sometimes I've played it against people and they'll think like, oh, that's such a scary card. And it can be. Back in strike team days, like early strike team days, they were really scary for strike teams because you could just nuke a strike team off the table if they, someone wasn't hiding them correctly or something like that. But nowadays, what it tends to be for me, I mean, like you mentioned, Kyle, like if you have a bunch of long range shooters, it's different. But really, for me, if I can get a shot on someone that I want to shoot later, I can get that chain started. Especially for me, if I'm running a list of bounty hunters or something like that, and they have hunter, if I can get one wound through on like a character that has bounty on it, great. I'll take that. Because then that's going to pay off all game for me. So it's trying to think of it again. If you have a barrage card, not every list is going to have that, but if you have a barrage card, for me, it's thinking about how am I going to invest in future turns with what I'm doing now. And then if you don't have shots, then it's all about positioning for future shots.
All right, so let's say you've moved past that like initial stage where you're kind of just poking and taking the shots that you can take. And now you're at what we would call basically engagement range.
Yep.
Say you're at range 3, that's kind of like the standard range that most units are able to shoot. Once you get to range 2 or less, that's like short range basically. So let's say you're now at range 3 and you've got, your choice of a handful of targets and your opponent is in the same situation. Now, what considerations do you have for target priority?
Yeah, objectives. So, if it's like a trooper unit only objective, or somebody that I know can, let's say, recover, can grab it and is going to run and get out of there before I could do anything about it, then yeah, objective play units become target priorities. And it could even be not that somebody would, if they're good enough, they would never give you this opportunity, but if you're looking at like a force user with force push and you have key positions and you see them heading up towards that middle key position, right? And you don't really have like an answer like double heavy or something it can't force push. You're going to want to try to knock, at least get some suppression, maybe a couple wounds on that force user to make them think twice about like objective playing with that, at least in these early, these mid rounds, and force them to hold them till the end. But yeah, objective play is my target priorities then.
Yeah, and Jay, you make a great point about force users because I think that changes the whole conversation too. Because I would assume if they're running towards like a middle point or something like that, one would assume and hope that they have a dodge token on them, and so then deflect comes into play. And I think a lot of people won't shoot a force user with a dodge token because they're so afraid to deflect. And again, of course, everything we're saying is there's always exceptions to every rule, right? But I actually think it can be a mistake. So I will take sometimes lower die shots at a force user if I can make them burn a dodge. And so then, because then on the flip side of that, if that happens to you, you have to choose, do I, let's say I just take a phase 1 with a naked phase 1, I shoot you with a naked phase 1, after cover, all that good stuff. Maybe I got lucky, got a crit. Okay, so let's just say you can't cancel with a dodge, whatever. But like, if I make him spend that dodge, it's worth it. That whole attack was worth it because now, and I'm thinking of a clone player right now, but then I could, fire sport a Z6 shot into him and they have no dodge to spend and no deflect. So I think if you can make them burn through their economy a little bit better and make that target really softened up, then it's great, especially for objectives. But you got to put them in that spot first.
Yeah, you kind of have to like think about how the rest of your turn is going to go when you're targeting. So you had a great example where there's like a sequence there, right? Like if it's your last shot of the turn and they have a dodge and all you've got is like a small dice pool left, then it's probably not worth it. Unless maybe it's something like a mortar and you don't care about the wound or 2 on deflect. Who knows?
Sure.
But
sure. Yeah.
But if it's near the beginning of the turn and you can follow that up with subsequent shots, then that's potentially a good idea. And the same holds true for shooting other multi-wound models or vehicles. If you're shooting something where doing wounds to them does not cause them to lose attack dice, then you need to kind of like commit to taking out that unit. Especially if it's like a big vehicle or heavy or something that's going to take a lot of shots to take down.
Yeah.
You need to basically be like, all right, if I take one wound off this thing, I'm going to take enough wounds off this thing to take it out. Otherwise, you're kind of, wasting your shots, and you need to try and go against something else where you can actually degrade their offensive capability by causing casualties, even if you don't fully kill them.
Right. And it's, to me, that plays into a little bit. I think of, it doesn't always fit, but it makes me think of my old X-Wing days of like, you commit to kill your target, commit to kill one thing at a time. And I've found that normally to be the case in Legion. Again, always exceptions to every rule, but as a whole, speaking generally, that tends to be the case. Even if it's, for me, if you have I'm thinking of a Rebel Z6, but for some reason I'm pulling old school. But if there's like a Rebel Z6 squad like sitting and like camping on a point or looking at a point, and they're at range 3 of me, on this turn, let's say it's like turn 3, I want to focus fire and kill them and get that heavy gone, get that heavy weapon squad. So even if it's not a character, if it's someone that has something that could really do a lot of damage to me or really affect my gameplay, I want it removed. I want it gone. Even if that means I got to focus down. And I think sometimes we can get, because we still roll dice in this game, and I think sometimes when we roll dice, we get really discouraged. I know I do. If I throw a huge die pool and nothing happens, I'm like, oh well, now I don't want to do it anymore. I only killed one model. All right, but that's one less save for them to make, right? Or that's one less health they have. So now press it, take that, and just drive the nail in.
Yeah, I mean, I would say probably one of, if not the hardest target selection is always going to be a heavy unit. Or I'm sorry, not a heavy unit. Heavy, a heavy, like a ATST or a tank or something, right? Not a heavy upgrade. Sorry, my head like spasmed there for a second. But
no, I know what you mean.
Yeah, like a heavy unit, because most of the time, I would say 80% of the time, I would recommend to you not to attack an ATST when it's on the table. I just it's depending on what your makeup of your list is, but 80%, if you don't have a lot of impact and you're like trying to search, like rolling for crits or like trying to find your critical, like just don't even bother. Take out the rest of my army, because the ATST is probably going to be the least of your worries in this. You're going to be focusing your whole time and effort on that and maybe get 5, maybe 6 wounds, but by that time, I could be using that as a sacrifice to you to then position the rest of my army. So, 80% of the time I would tell folks, don't even bother targeting a heavy, like go after the rest of the army, especially depending on the objective,
Yeah. I do think I agree with you, and that has been my prevailing theory most of the history of this game, but I do think it's a little bit different now that heavies act like line of sight blockers and things like that now. So, because that could, potentially,
that's fair. Yeah.
If you have a box carrier and then you hide behind your ATST, well, I got to kill that. Like I have to shoot your box carrier, so I might have to kill your ATST, which sucks. But also that's like well done on your part, right? Like well played. But so sometimes you might be forced to do it. But yeah, unless that's the case, I agree. Just don't bother.
Yeah. Like I said, I think that's like it's a 20% outlier, right? But I think 80% of the time you're just like, yeah, okay, you got an ATST. Especially with the cover rules now, right? You're always going to have perfect cover.
Be aware if that heavy can cover the KP in the middle.
Yeah. And that's actually I ran into this with this was 2021. I played Luke Cook in the final at Atlantic City Open, and he was running double AAT. And based on how turn 0 played out, my options were basically like, because he was blue, I could either like assault him on VAPs when he was blue, or I could play KP where the middle KP was one that could be covered by an AAT. And ultimately I chose option 2. But then I knew, like, from, before we even started turn 1, I'm like, I have to kill probably both of these AATs or somehow contest his back point if I'm going to win this game. Otherwise he can cover the middle point with an AAT and prevent me from scoring it.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that happens, and like you have displacement that happens.
Yeah.
That was last LVO, the first game of LVO, first round. We were contesting the middle, and I made it look like I had double saber tank, which actually did pretty well, better than I thought. And I was fighting for the middle point, and I was acting like I was trying to get the middle point. That whole time, my entire game plan was to screw the middle point. I'm just going to go drop, and I couldn't fit on the middle, but on his point, I could just drop on top. That's what I did. That's
There you
it.
Yeah. So I did end up killing both AATs, but it was one of those like from the beginning of the game, I'm like, I'm gonna basically ignore all these B1s and I'm just gonna shoot the AATs. Even with my stuff that doesn't have impact, I'm gonna be crit fishing because I have to kill these AATs if I want a chance to win.
Yep.
The other possibility, by the way, if you run into a situation like that, is if you have if you can set up a melee on the center point, then you can also prevent displacement, which in fact I did before I killed the second AAT. I was able to set up a melee with Maul. And then I ended up killing it anyways, but it was one of those like it was one of those like better to be lucky than good moments. Maul had like one wound left. There was a BX droid that shot him at like point blank range. They got 3 hits. And Maul did have a surge. But basically, like if I fail any of those, Maul dies, and I don't have a way to either finish off the last AAT or set up the melee in the middle. And I rolled like all blocks, and I'm like, all right, I meleeed the BX droid. I killed the AAT with some B2s, and yeah, that was it. But yeah, it's you absolutely have to like figure out how that fits into your game plan, and if you need to commit to the kill, commit to the kill. But like if you can't do that, then you should focus on other stuff.
Yep.
The other thing you referenced coverage A. The other thing that I think about a lot with target priority is simply what's the chance that you're going to actually cause damage and how much. And if you can get a no cover shot, which is a unicorn these days, but if that's like a thing you can do, and you know you've got a choice between like a higher value unit and like a lower value unit, but you can get a no cover shot on the second one and potentially like do a lot more damage, then I will often take that second one simply because, especially if it's early in the game when you're kind of, you know, you've got a lot of games, a lot of attacks to go over the course of the game. I'm kind of trying to think earlier, like how efficiently can I damage things, and then later, once I've, you know, hopefully damage things as efficiently as possible for a couple turns, then I start thinking about eliminating stuff. That's less of a thing now because most of your targets are just going to be in heavy cover anyway. So that's the other thing too, is this will occasionally still be a thing. It's definitely less of a thing now, but like when do I move to try and get an open shot versus just stand still and aim and shoot? The answer almost always now is just the second thing. But if you can move to get an open shot, you know, you should. That's usually better than taking a name token. But yeah, so like if you can finish off units, that's always a priority. If you can take shots that have a higher chance to do something, that's more of a priority. The other consideration is we talked about obviously attrition, reducing units' attack ability through shooting them or attacking them, and then kind of the last big component is what I like to call tempo, but more bluntly, it's just like whether stuff is activated or not yet. Generally, like all else being equal, it's better to shoot a unit that is not activated yet than one that has. So
yeah, I think there's a line there, right? Like let's say Sabine, right? Let's say you've been shooting Sabine this whole time, waiting for her to activate. She finally activates, does whatever she's going to do, and maybe you have an activation left, right? And you've got some wounds and some suppression on her. I mean, you may want to like try to finish it off if it, you know, if the wound threshold is high enough. But yeah, most likely you're gonna, even if she's got like 2 wounds on her and a bunch of suppression, you know, the suppression's gonna go away. But like, so maybe I just go after another unit and just try to get some more wounds on that, especially like true like a core unit, right, where the wounds are going to be more important. So, but I think these are all like just general guidelines because every activation is different, right? So it's all like, but
well, and Sabine's a great point too, and I think you could apply this to other characters. It's also, I think, after a certain point in the game, and like Kyle's talking about tempo, after a certain point, like if that character has done their big scary thing, like if she's dropped explosions, right, and she's got only a couple wounds on her, unless she's threatening a point or talking about objectives, unless she's actively threatening my objective, I care a lot less about her now in the later turns than I did before, because now that ship has sailed most likely, and now I probably can't finish her off like I wanted to. And again, she's dropped her scary cards, or whatever the character is, they've done their scary thing. They're still a threat. They're still a huge threat, but there's other fish to fry, and now you really got to start looking at objectives. And if you start thinking you're going to get tied, now we're thinking like turn 5 or 6. If you're going to be tied, take the shot on the naked core that you can kill.
Yep.
And then if you can kill the naked core, you don't get half points in this game for killing half of a character. So if Sabine lives on 1, that's useless to you.
Yep.
You would have been better off killing a 44-point sword trooper.
Yep. Nice.
Yeah. That's a good point. It's always important to think about how, like, if the objective is going to tie, and if so, you need to start doing some mental math in your head about like how many points have been killed and how many points your opponent has to kill, because oftentimes like it's very close. I've had a lot of games where it comes down to like 15 points or less, basically. So I don't want to get into a discussion about timers and stuff, but like it's worth sometimes late in the game, if you've got time left, it's worth taking like 30 seconds to a minute to just do some mental math and actually figure out what the points actually are. I'm not actually sure what the rules are now, like writing stuff down and stuff like that. I know that you used to not be allowed to write stuff down or use calculators or anything like that. Maybe you can now. I don't know. Maybe you can use an app. I don't know. But sometimes, like, if you have time, and you should not use this as a slow play tactic. I'm not advocating that. If there is time left in the round, if you're playing with clocks, chess clocks, and you've got time left on your clock and it's getting late, like, take a minute to just be like, you know what, I'm going to figure out what the points are.
Right.
Hang on a second, let's work this out.
Well, and I think there's a quicker way to that, right? Like a lot of times, if let's say I've knocked off a couple like really larger units, I'll just ask my opponent, like, hey, what was the total cost of Luke, that you had your setup? And then you can kind of extrapolate from there and go, oh, okay.
You can ballpark a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, if it depends, right? It depends on how much kill there's been on either side. But like, if you've lost like 2 or 3 core units and they've only lost Luke, and you could go, oh, okay, or Luke and like 1 core unit, you could go, okay, their core units are roughly like 60 to 70, and Luke is 180. Like, okay, all right, yeah, I'm good. I've only, you know what I mean. So
yeah, and sometimes I've found too, your opponent, if it's close, your opponent is just as interested in that answer as you are.
Yeah.
So they'll be like, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's figure that out.
That's a great point.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, go like, hey, how many points of yours have I killed? Because you've killed X of mine, and then they'll be like, oh yeah, it's 200 and something.
Yeah.
To that point too, this is not so much target priority, but same kind of vein. This is on the defensive side. If you only have a unit leader left, hide your unit leader.
Yeah, run it away.
Don't leave. I've seen too many people that are like, well, this activation doesn't matter now because you killed them. No, that activation is hugely important. They should probably go first and hide.
Well,
oh my God.
Just so everybody knows, a little shameless plug, but if you use Legion HQ and you're trying to do math on your own list really quick, we have a kill points calculator on Legion HQ.
You just tap the units basically and it'll add them up for you.
Yep.
Yeah. Again, check your tournament rules to see if that's something you can do in a game. Clearly, if you're playing at a store or a casual game or whatever, and your opponent's fine with it, who cares? But all right.
Yep. So real quick, I want to thank our Patreon supporter. What was it? Codad Sunshine, I guess. was the one that suggested target selection. So thank you for being a Patreon supporter and making that cool suggestion.
There you
Yeah,
go.
it was super helpful. Yeah.
Do you know who suggested the standby one, Jay?
I do.
All right. Well, how about we move to that and we can plug them also.
Yeah. Do you want me to plug them on the front end? All right, I will.
Go ahead,
So
because you got it in front of you right now. So
yeah,
might as well.
yeah. This one is from Sigismund. Sigismund, our Patreon supporter, Sigismund from Discord. Thought that standbys would be very interesting to talk about. So here we
There you
go.
go. All right, standbys. When do you take a standby? What
So
are they good for?
Standbys. What
thank
are
you,
they
Jay. I'm glad you thought of the same
good
thing I
for?
was thinking of. Yeah, I didn't know if I was alone in that, so I wasn't going to go down that trail. But yeah, it's funny because both of these things, target priority and standby planning, came up in a tournament I was at a couple weekends ago. It was just a little 9-person tournament. It was great. Got to meet some great folks, some fans of the show, so it's great to see them. And in our second game, I took a whole bunch of standbys, and like I don't normally do that, but for me, to feed into that discussion, for me, I think because it's so easy to lose a standby, I really have to know it's going to pay off for me. I have to know that I'm going to be able to get that either triggered or I have to know that it's going to stop my opponent from doing something, which is almost just as good as killing something.
Yep.
It really has to pay off. And it, again, there's so many easy ways to get suppression in this game, which is fine. I'm not opposed to that. But it's just there's so many easy ways to just lose your standby, unless you're a heavy or something
Yeah.
like that, which we can talk about. But
For me, not all the time, but a good amount of the time, like my best analogy is like in basketball, like if you know MJ's gonna be taking the ball and going in, you double team him, right? And so it's more of a defensive, like, okay, I know or I have a good idea, a strong idea of what's gonna happen here. Like either they're gonna dive in with this character or they need to get to this point or something. So I'm going to use it defensively, and that it doesn't always mean shoot. It could also mean I'm going to use it to move my, up to the point, up to the objective or something. But I think I think there's a lot of other ways to use standbys, but your first major one, I think that people should learn about is defensively using them. And because sometimes, this goes to that target selection where if I'm going to dive a unit too early, or like I run my, let's say I'm my exact speed away from the objective, like, and it's KP, right? Key positions. I could run up and claim it, but maybe that would then give Tim all these shots on that unit, right? So what I do instead is if we're tied on the KP, whether it's 0-0 or 1-1 or something like that, and I know you're going to start rushing in people, I'll just start taking standbys, because then either I can choose to shoot them off of the position, or I can choose to move my speed and get onto the position and tie you. And it's a really good like defensive posturing.
agree. And shout out also to I like playing Republic Wookiees. Because a lot of times I feel like you're like just shy of where you want to be with them sometimes. And so, you think of should I move, or should I, move, shoot, move, standby, whatever. And a lot of times you can get to a point to where you can move and standby. And then if your opponent moves, you can move one more and then charge into someone or
Dude,
get something like
I've
that. It's
fallen for
great.
that so
It's
many
so good.
times with
Oh my God, it's
Wookiee.
so it's like,
Good
oh, you
God.
move right in there because people think you're going to take a shot, right? And then you go and move and trigger it to charge someone or something like that. So yeah, be careful of units with charge taking standbys.
Yep.
Or relentless.
That has happened to me a number of times.
Yeah, I would say it's primarily a defensive tool, as if you're trying to just hedge some specific unit or units out. And clearly, most of the time, unless you have Overwatch, it's just range 2. There are some units that have Sentinel, notably the emplacements, just kind of natively. But of course, you can also take the Overwatch upgrade, much less common now, but you can take it, and that brings it up to range 3. And if that's the case, you're gonna actually be able to trigger it a lot more. Especially as those emplacements basically all have cumbersome, it's pretty common to just do like move standby.
Yep.
But generally speaking, I view it as like zoning, like you're creating a zone. There are also some situations, particularly with melee units, where you can take a standby after you've engaged something. Like if you can, whether it's a force user or Wookiees or whatever, but if you can move into something with one move and then that something has not activated yet, and then you still have an action left, if you take a standby, you're basically guaranteed to stay in melee for that turn. Like if you were to just move in and attack, and then, whether you wipe that unit or don't, they could just withdraw from you, and then your melee unit can be shot by everything else that hasn't activated yet. But if you move and take a standby, they can't be shot while they're in melee with that unit, and then that unit goes. If that unit withdraws, then your melee unit can take a move. And then also, if they have charge or something, which if it's a melee unit, they will, they can move and then still attack that unit that they originally wanted to.
Yep.
So
and to piggyback off of that too, especially that's a really good tactic against a force user, because people think, well, force push is just going to force push out of melee like it's no problem. True, but if they burn their force push to push your standby unit, and then your standby move moves right back, they just wasted it, and now they're still stuck in melee.
Well, but when you complete a move, including force push, your standby goes away. So force push is the way to
that's right.
remove
It
a
does
standby
clear.
from your melee unit. Yep.
I've not seen that done in so long. You're absolutely right. I'm sorry. It's been a long time since I've seen that.
Yeah.
So
I forgot about that.
Yeah. And listen, one thing of note for everyone, if you don't know, vehicles can't be stripped of standbys. So like one of the things I really like doing with like a double ATST list or like a double heavy list is there's two ways to play it. There's one highly aggressive and then catch the middle and zone it, and you do that by your first two moves moving straight up and then just putting on standbys and going, I don't know, do whatever you're going to do. It doesn't matter because these things are going to kill you now. But the other thing too, like this is like a serious 101. If you are in a position where you're not in direct danger, but you don't really know what your opponent's going to do just because you haven't been playing that much, a dodge standby is always a solid, like, just safe move to go, okay, I have a dodge in case they decide to shoot me, but I also have a standby if they move into that range, and then I can move or I can shoot them. So like, if and this is like seriously like your third game and you're like, I don't know, I have no idea what that guy's gonna do. Dodge standby. It's a safe, good move that gives you some options defensively if they attack you, and then offensively if they move or attack not your standby unit in your arc. So and I think that's things like, since this is 101, right? Like newer players are always I've seen newer players like always think like they have to do something, and Kyle, you and I have discussed this over the last 5 years, right? Like so many times, because you're very much you used to be very much more of a like relaxed defensive player, and I was like the highly aggressive, like, I don't know, let's just do some crazy stuff and see what happens.
My style has changed over the years. But
I think I've become more like you, and so like but yeah, and that's just something you don't always have to move or like do nothing, like or attack something, or you could just dodge standby and just see what your opponent does. I think that's a very good tactic, especially when you're newer and maybe you don't know, like, or there's so many things in Legion now, right? Like you may not even know. I don't even memorize everything, and I just go, I don't know, it does something. It's a force user, so I'm guessing like these things. So you have a good estimate, and you just go, dodge standby. And then force the decision onto them, and then you're saving yourself. You got some heavy cover, you got to dodge, they got to get 3 through before they do anything to you, generally speaking.
And I'm sorry if you mentioned this, my audio cut out for a little bit, so I couldn't hear everything. But
you better not repeat exactly what I just said.
No, it was on my side. It was on my side. But did you mention Dark Troopers?
No.
No,
Okay. Well, just important to note because I think people forget that even though they're troopers, they're
troopers.
heavies, but they can't get suppression,
Yep.
so
You
they can't
cannot
lose
strip
their
their standbys.
can't strip their standby.
Yep.
So those are move standby if you want.
Yep. I think
That's
there's
what
some unexplored
tickles your fancy.
territory. I know they went up in cost. I think there's some unexplored territory with Krennic and Dark Troopers.
I was
Personally.
just gonna say I got to remake it now with new points, but I had a saved Krennic Dark Trooper list.
Yeah.
Just wanted to give it a shot. I don't know if when it's gonna come out to play, but at some point I want to give it a whirl.
Yeah. I don't know that I want to be that guy that brings Dark Troopers to Lone Star, which I'm going to in July. But
Wait,
I thought you were saying
on
I'm
the
going to
table.
be that guy.
no, that's what I thought he said too. But
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
going
no.
to. I was like, whoa,
Sorry,
whoa.
I will be attending Lone Star Open.
Same.
I am unsure if I want to be that guy to bring Dark Troopers, but it's on the table. Let's put it that way. I'm not deterred from, to the extent that I previously wanted to play them. To when something important is on the line, which it is in this case, because I think they just announced this week that it's going to be a World Open qualifier.
It is indeed.
Yeah. So I am undeterred by the points increase on Dark Troopers. Let's put it that way.
You know what the best thing that AMG did? Sorry, real quick. I know this is a 101, but one of the best things that they did with these world invites is that they made the kit so reasonably priced for stores to purchase that stores
True.
are willing to give them to events so that
Yep.
events can
Yes.
have invites that normally wouldn't have an invite. I think
Yep.
that's huge.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, a couple of those like frontline events that are at conventions that have not got the World Open qualifier treatment have been able to partner with like one or more local stores to functionally get official prize support. So yeah, that's great.
That's great.
And we've seen a lot of store tournaments happening. So yeah, I'm excited.
I know we could spend forever on this too, but I'm just curious what your thoughts are on this. With the point change on the Dark Troopers and everything else, do you now trade the grenade launcher or the other one for a Myrtleizer?
No.
Okay. I don't think so either, but
nope.
It does make it down to like 2 more points than what they were before.
How convenient that you agreed with him after he gave his answer to. I don't think so either.
I've played Dark Troopers like twice in my life.
I don't know anything about anything.
That's true.
But I agree with you, Kyle.
Yeah, no, it's the frag assault cannon combo is too good.
It is really good.
I know it's a lot more now. It doesn't matter. It's too good for its cost. Yeah, Myrtleizer not in the consideration. If your Dark Troopers are in melee, it's not because you wanted them there.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, they do throw red dice in melee.
Oh, right. But like, if your Dark Troopers are in melee, it's not because you put them there. It's because your opponent meleeed your Dark Troopers. Because they have cumbersome. Or they have not cumbersome. They have plotting.
Yeah, your opponent let that happen. Regardless.
Right. Yeah. Or you like, I guess you could put them in a lat or something. But
maybe
if you want to do that and give them the cricket bat, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I made a list called Lats of Love, and it had a lat, a Dark Trooper, another lat, Gideon, so I could have the free Dark Trooper, and then a Black Sun Squad in the other lat, and they were just going to rappel down. I don't own 2 functional lats, so it's not a thing I'm going to try. But
yeah,
you own 2 non-functional lats. There's a weird phrasing of that.
I lost my second base for my second lat, so I have the body. Don't have the base. Don't know where it is.
You're the worst.
So you do, in fact, have a non-functioning lat.
I guess I'm going to use it for terrain one day, and I keep waiting to find one on sale because there are some fun lists that I just want to give a shot.
Yep.
I just to fly 2 lats, and now I can't. So I've been waiting to find one like on a sale. I know.
But yeah, so that was 101 from our Patreon. I'm very excited about this. This will be so for those of you that may not remember, 2 or 3 weeks ago, if you're still with us, thank you. 2 or 3 weeks ago, we talked about our new structure. Last week we did I did episode 0 because it was just fully news and But this was our first actual episode in the new format. You're gonna, for those of you listening, you're gonna hear some intros and outros. For those of you watching, we got some animations and stuff. But we're hopefully going to be having different episodes where we just focus up on a particular thing. This 101 next week, I believe it's hobby. The week after that, unless anything huge happens, will be our kind of like Renaissance show where we just talk about a whole bunch of different things, and then we'll start with advanced tactics after that. So I'm really excited about the new structure.
Yep, should be exciting.
Yeah.
Well, and it's nice structure too for if you have someone that's trying to get into the game and you want to point them in the right direction. Say, hey, listen to Scoundrels, but hey, listen to the 101 thing, and then if you want to then build from there, blah blah. So it's a direct not just current listeners but future listeners too.
Yeah. Good job, Tim.
I live to serve, sir.
I am of service.
All right. Any final thoughts before we close this thing out?
No. Join us on Patreon.
Yep.
It's a fun time.
Patreon.com/the Fifth Trooper.
You'll see some random lists posted by me sometimes, and one day I might try them.
Tell me what faction you want me to play for Lone Star Open. I may or may not take that into consideration. Listeners,
I don't know. I don't even know what I'm playing for Lone Star Open. So
Ewok Battle Force.
You know that comes out the day before.
Oh no, I have no idea when Lone Star is, or no.
Yeah, Ewoks released the day before Lone Star, so that would be a tall order to get that fully painted and assembled.
Well, that's what our store up here, Millennium Games, they're actually they're going to become the largest game store in all of America. And I know that their July is when they move into the new space roughly. So I'm expecting like an August Legion event. And so I'm hoping I want to have Ewoks ready for that, because I'm going to be very honest with everybody who's still listening at the end of this podcast. If you see me playing Legion at events anymore, it will only be with Ewoks. I will not be playing anything else in Legion.
Well, yeah, because now you get Ewoks and your ATST. You get the best of both worlds.
Yep.
That's fair. That's fair.
I'm so happy. Like, and they did Chewbacca on the top of the ATST, like they should have. They're such good boys over at AMG. Such good.
I think it's great that the Chewie on top of the ATST.
And the General Vice as well. Like they're like, oh yeah, hey, let's add some cool stuff to this. Like, dude, brilliant, so good. I'm so happy.
And I love all the tactical logs.
Yeah, well, it's smart because now also with General Weiss in there, that now you're going to sell it to Imperial players like me who like, hey, I could go for another ATST.
And by the way, this also the whole like, I'm so excited about this that I already have a full like. I've drawn out I'm going to actually for the first time in Legion do a full diorama to take with me to events with all my Ewoks and stuff. And that's dude, I can't wait. I'm so excited.
I'm going to send my wife at Gen Con in to try and get that special like celebration one they had.
Oh yeah.
Of Luke and Vader and Palp and stuff like that.
Yep.
I don't know if she's going to get it or not, but she's at like shanking height, so she can get it. That's fine. She can.
Nice.
Yeah, she knows where to stab. That's good.
It's like Ewoks.
Yeah.
They're also that height and they know where to stab. So,
dude, I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
I'm respectfully not, but I'm glad. I'm happy you're happy. How about that?
Oh my god, I'm so excited. Like I can't wait to paint. Like I can't. We'll talk about it next week in hobby, but like. I'm the most excited about painting them. Like I can't even express to you how exciting I am.
Dude, I will say, painting Wookiees was so cathartic because I enjoy painting in general, but like I didn't do anything fancy for them. I just used like a basic fur contrast on them, and it just popped. Like the quality model was just, oh my god,
fur so easy.
Fur. Oh my god, fur was so good.
I'm going
so much fun
hard to the paint with my hobby with them. I'm not doing.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, I'm not going contrast. I'm hand painting all of them. I can't even. I'm so excited to do it.
Yeah,
you're gonna paint each individual little
fur
shit thingy.
Oh
Yep.
yeah.
You gotta
All right,
paint
start-
a little teardrop on each one of their eyes
Yep.
for like every
Yep.
stormtrooper they killed. Yeah.
There you go.
I've already started planning out their bases. I've got my diorama planned and drawn out. Like,
Nice.
dude, I am so excited. I got like Endor trees that I'm planning out. Like, oh my god, dude, it's gonna be a whole thing.
Dude, we should do a hobby one on basing sometime because I got to base all my stuff.
Okay.
Not for me to be on it. I need to learn. So
Yeah,
you
we'll
guys
do it
talk
next
about I'll
week.
watch it. I'll
Next
watch it.
week we can do that. Why not? But all right, let's wrap it up. Kyle looks tired.
All right. I'm always tired, Jay.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I'm not excited. All right. We are the Notorious Scoundrels. I'm Kyle.
I am Jay.
And I am Tim.
Stay fresh, cheese bags. All right. Well, how about we open with the news?
The news.
Mother. Son of a Tim. Now I have to listen to this whole thing back again. You, God damn it. Write this down. Piece of shit. You're on my list now, Tim.
Thought I was muted. Sorry.
Then who were you talking to?
Myself. I'm an only child.
No, you're an
All right. Are you going to cut all this and then we'll go back in?
maybe we'll see.
All
Go,
right.
go ahead.